Hello, today I would like to talk to you about perfectionist tendencies. So, being a perfectionist is something that a lot of people are very proud of because they think that they are super achievers, that they do things the best they can, and in a way that is true. But it's important to know that we have few different types of perfectionists. There is a difference between those who are striving for excellence and those who are demanding best performance. Basically, when we have adaptive or positive perfectionism, that's the one that is internally guided. So we are having our own high standards, we work extremely hard for our success, and we are focused on achieving results to prove ourselves that we are good enough, that we are doing something very well. On the other side, we can call it healthy perfectionists. On the other side, you have unhealthy perfectionists who are asking for approval from the external world, from their bosses, from their partners, from their parents, for someone from the outside world. When it's unhealthy, it becomes very stressful. It activates different parts of our brain that are not so productive and not so healthy. It can definitely lead to negative outcomes. Procrastination, tendency to avoid challenges, rigid all or nothing thinking. It's all or nothing for me. Toxic comparison. People who are perfectionists very often compare themselves to others. That's one of the main things. And there is, of course, as a result, a lack of creativity. Creativity is one of the main things for our brain, for our soul, for our emotional life, for our personal development, basically. We have three types of perfectionists. First one is those we can call people who are focused on other people's thoughts, what other people think about them, and their focus is always on a negative evaluation. So people who want outside feedback and approval, they will always activate the part of their brain that's gonna in advance tell them that they are doing something wrong. The adaptive or positive perfectionists are those who have internal motivation, who have their own internal standards. Those people are high in expectations from themselves. They strive for the best results. They want to prove themselves that they are good enough, that they are doing something well, and that basically, they're worth of what they do or who they are. The third type is, of course, combination. How does our brain react on that? There is a lot of researches, and in these three groups, when they did research on the brain, those with high personal standards, they strongly activated the error center of our brain. It's called anterior cingulate cortex. That part of brain was extremely active on those who were seeking for outside approval as well. But the problem or difference is that those who are self-motivated perfectionists with high standards, when they would start and touch their error point, they would slow down and learn from their errors, learn from their mistakes. And that is one really useful thing, because then that's how we learn, that's how we grow. The problem with those who are seeking for outside approval, it has been seen on various tests that part of error-activated, error-processing brain is not slowing down. It's not teaching. We're not learning from that. So people who are perfectionists and seeking for outside approval, they're basically only giving themselves stress. They're only giving themselves stress, anxiety, potentially depression, of course, procrastination, different, tendencies that are not really the best tendencies if you want to be productive, happy, and successful. We can say that those who are adaptive or positive perfectionists are doing something right because they are growing and learning from their errors, and that's good. But on the other side, the amygdala, the small almond-shaped gland in our brain, activates each time when we reach error moment. Whenever we make a mistake, our brain sends the message and activates and triggers our fight or flight mode. That means that automatically we are in a stage of fear. Of fear of not being good enough, fear of making a mistake, fear of being punished, fear of unworthiness, fear of not being accepted from other people, bosses, society, partners, whoever is around you or is related with yourself. The problem with that is that constant fight or flight mode is bringing us disease. That's a state of constant fear, which is never good. You can be scared. It's the part of our brain who is basically saving us. It's part of our brain that protects us from the bear in the woods. When we see bear in the woods, we run away and we don't wait for him. Hey, we don't negotiate with the bear. And that's the good activation of amygdala. But if we activate it on simple tasks like doing our work or being in a relationship with our partners or in general in life, then we are constantly activating the stress and anxiety parts of our body. Of course, that brings to higher levels of cortisol, adrenaline, and everything that adrenal gland has to produce. And that's the long-term stress, that's the long-term situation and the fact that it brings disease. How to cope with it, what to do to feel better and not to be a perfectionist. First of all, there is no perfection. You will never be perfect and you don't have to be perfect. That's the main thing. But how to cope with it on a daily basis, one of the things is definitely practicing mindfulness. Being present in the moment, not judging yourself, being compassionate and gentle towards yourself, setting a clear goals and knowing what you have to do and reach towards that without negative self-judgment, without expecting that you will make error. You might make error and that's fine. We all make mistakes. That's how we learned, as we heard before. But the point is to realize that our endeavors and errands and tasks can be worthwhile even if we don't make them, even if they're not perfect. We are good even if we're not perfect, believe it or not. So focusing on the present moment, acknowledging it, accepting for what it is, work as best as we can, of course, but it's not the point to have a perfect outcome. We need to realize that a feel-good mindset can be achieved from ourselves, from just the point that we have achieved something and we did something, we tried. A lot of people would say trying doesn't count. It does count, because you don't always have to be the best in what you do. You have to strive to be the best, because that's how you improve, that's how you learn. But that doesn't mean that outcome has to be perfect. We don't need validation from others to be worth, to be happy, and to be stress-free. And then the last thing I want to say is that perfection is abstraction, impossibility. There is no reality, and it's impossible in reality.